Am I the asshole for refusing to pay for my girlfriend's plane ticket after she decided to stay longer on the trip without me? I'll be honest, I thought this trip would fix everything. My girlfriend Laura and I had been dating for about 2 years, and while we loved each other, things had been rocky lately. Between her new job, my long work hours, and our constant small fights about everything, from dishes to texts left on read, we both desperately needed a break. So when I suggested a 10-day vacation to Greece, it felt like the perfect escape, a chance to reconnect, to remember why we started this in the first place. Now, before anyone jumps to conclusions, I'm not some rich guy. I'd been saving for months for this trip. I booked a cozy Airbnb by the beach, paid for all the excursions, and covered most of the meals. The only thing I didn't pay for was her plane ticket, which we'd agreed she'd handle herself. It seemed fair. She even said, "Of course, babe, it's your idea, I'll get my ticket." And honestly, at first, it was perfect. The moment we landed, everything felt like a dream. Crystal blue water, sunsets that made you forget time existed. We laughed again. Real laughter. The kind that comes from your stomach, not the polite kind you give during awkward silences. For the first few days, it felt like we'd found our rhythm again. Morning walks to the cafe near the harbor, lazy afternoons at the beach, and long talks at night while sipping cheap wine under string lights. But somewhere around day 5, things started to shift. It began small, Laura getting more interested in chatting with other tourists than with me. We joined a boat tour, and she instantly clicked with a group of people from the UK. There were a couple of girls, but also 2 guys, one in particular named Ryan, who seemed a little too eager to show her around later. I brushed it off at first. I didn't want to be that jealous boyfriend who ruins the vibe. But then, on day 6, she started leaving me out of plans. I'd wake up and find a note saying, "Went for a walk with the group, meet you at lunch," or "Catching a drink by the beach, don't wait up." By day 7, it was basically her trip, not ours. That night, as we sat at a beachside restaurant, I tried to bring it up gently. "Hey, I kind of feel like we haven't spent much time together lately." She sighed, not the tired kind, but the annoyed kind. "Ethan, I'm just trying to have fun. We've been joined at the hip all week. Can't I make a few friends without you getting weird about it?" I swallowed hard. "I'm not being weird. I just thought this was supposed to be our time." She rolled her eyes and said, "You're being controlling. I'm allowed to enjoy myself." That word, controlling, stuck with me. I wasn't telling her what to do. I just missed her. But that night, I let it go. I didn't want to fight.
The next day, she spent the whole afternoon with Ryan and that group again. I ended up wandering the old town alone, trying to convince myself I was overthinking it. But I could feel something changing. She was drifting. And I didn't know it yet, but that drift was about to turn into a full-blown storm. Because 2 nights later, as we packed to head home, Lara would make a decision that would change everything and test just how far I was willing to go to prove a point.
The last 2 days of the trip were supposed to be calm. I thought maybe we'd have one more romantic dinner, watch one more sunset, and head home feeling at least a little closer than before. But that's not how it went. Not even close. On the morning of day 9, I woke up to find Laura sitting on the balcony, typing furiously on her phone. I joked, "Writing a novel?" And she just said, "Texting Ryan. He and the others are going to this hidden beach. You should come." Except the tone in her voice didn't sound like an invitation. It sounded like an obligation. Like she was just being polite. I decided not to go. I stayed back, read for a while, went for a walk, and honestly, it was peaceful. I didn't realize how tense I'd been until I spent a few hours completely alone. When she got back that evening, she looked radiant. Hair salty from the sea, cheeks flushed, laughing about some inside joke the group shared. But when I asked about her day, she brushed me off like I was a coworker asking for a report. That's when I snapped. Not angry, but tired. "Laura, I don't know what's going on, but it's starting to feel like we're on 2 different trips." She sighed again. "Ethan, you're being dramatic. I just needed space. You act like I've done something wrong for wanting to enjoy myself." "I'm not saying you can't," I said, "but this was supposed to be our trip. You spent more time with Ryan and those guys than with me." Her eyes narrowed. "Oh my God, are you jealous?" "No," I said quietly. "I'm disappointed." That must have hit something, because she didn't reply. We sat in silence for a while. I thought maybe that would be the end of it. A quiet night, a bit of tension, then pack up and fly home the next day. But the next morning, just as I was printing our boarding passes, Laura dropped a bombshell. She said, "So, I'm not flying back with you." At first I thought she was joking. I laughed and said, "Yeah, right." But she didn't laugh. "I'm serious. I talked to Ryan and his friends, and they're staying another week. I realized I don't want to leave yet." I just stared at her. "What are you talking about? You have work Monday." She already texted my boss, she said casually, like it was no big deal. "I told him I needed a mental health break. It's fine." I felt my chest tighten. "So you're staying here another week with them?" She rolled her eyes. "Ethan, stop making it sound shady. It's not like that. We're just having fun. You can go home if you want. I'll come back when I'm ready." That's when I realized she genuinely expected me to pay for her flight back. Because when I asked, "Did you buy a new return ticket already?" she said, completely serious, "No, I thought you just changed mine for me. You booked the flights, remember?" I couldn't believe it. "Laura, you're the one changing the plan. You'll have to pay for your own new ticket."
She scoffed. "Wow, you're really going to make me pay for a one-way ticket because I want to stay a few extra days?" "Yeah," I said, "because this was our trip. If you're staying longer for your trip, that's on you." Her expression went from shock to fury in seconds. She said, "Unbelievable. You can afford it, Ethan. You're just being petty." "Petty?" I said, laughing bitterly. "I paid for everything else on this trip. The Airbnb, the excursions, the meals, and now you want me to fund your solo vacation?" She stood up, grabbed her bag, and said, "You know what? Fine. Go home. I'll figure it out myself. Maybe you should learn how to support your girlfriend instead of controlling her." That word again. Controlling. I didn't argue anymore. I finished packing, called the cab, and left for the airport alone. But as I sat on the plane home, watching the coastline disappear beneath me, I couldn't shake one thought. She'd chosen to stay behind, with people she barely knew, instead of flying home with me, and somehow she still managed to make me feel like the villain.
The flight home felt longer than it was, not because of turbulence or delays, but because I had hours to just sit there, staring out the window, replaying every second of that fight in my head. I kept asking myself if I'd overreacted, if maybe I should have just paid for her new ticket and dealt with the rest later. But then I'd remember the look on her face when she said, "I'll stay with them. You can go if you want." And that guilt would disappear. By the time I landed, I wasn't angry anymore, just numb. I texted her to let her know I got home safely. No response. I didn't expect one, honestly. For the next few days, we didn't talk. Her Instagram, though, that was active. Stories of beaches, cocktails, and late-night bonfires with captions like, "Living my best life, heart sun." Ryan was tagged in more than a few of them. It stung, I won't lie, but I wasn't about to chase her. Then, exactly 5 days later, I got a call around 3 a.m. Her name flashed on my screen. When I picked up, her voice was trembling. "Ethan, I need your help." Apparently, her debit card got frozen because of suspicious activity, and her credit card was maxed out. She couldn't book her flight home. She had already tried calling her bank, but with the time difference, nothing was going through. I sat there in silence, listening to her breathing hard on the other end. Finally, I said, "Okay, so what do you need?" She said it so casually, like it was obvious. "Can you just buy my ticket? I'll pay you back when I get home." And that's when all the irritation, the guilt, the second guessing, it all came flooding back. "Laura," I said slowly, "I told you I wasn't going to pay for that. You made the choice to stay." Her voice cracked. "Are you serious right now? You're really going to leave me stranded in another country?" I took a deep breath. "You're not stranded. You can call your parents or your friends or even your bank. But no, I'm not paying for another ticket." She exploded. "You're unbelievable. You're punishing me because I wanted some space. I knew you were petty, but this is cruel." I kept my voice calm. "You wanted independence, Laura. This is what that looks like." She hung up. No goodbye, no please, just anger. 2 days later, she posted a picture back home. Same friend group, same captions, same fake smiles. I assume she borrowed money from someone or managed to fix her card. Then came the texts. Thanks for nothing. You really showed your true colors. Hope your ego is worth it. And finally the one that made me put my phone down for good. Don't bother calling. We're done. That one hurt, even though part of me had seen it coming. A week later, mutual friends started reaching out. Apparently, Laura had been telling people that I abandoned her in another country and left her stranded without help. Some believed her. Others, the ones who actually knew me, asked for my side.
I told them the truth. I paid for everything except her ticket. She chose to stay longer with other people and then got mad that I didn't fund her extended vacation. Some said I did the right thing. Others said I was too cold. But deep down, I knew what it was really about. This wasn't about a plane ticket. It was about boundaries. And Laura hated boundaries, especially when they cost her something. That night, I sat in my apartment, scrolling through her old photos, and for the first time since the trip, I didn't feel angry or guilty. I just felt done. I realized that no amount of love could survive if one person treated the other like a backup wallet. She wasn't my partner anymore. She was a tourist in our relationship, someone who liked the view but never intended to stay. And I finally understood that I hadn't abandoned her. I just stopped rescuing someone who didn't respect the lifeboat.
When Laura finally came home, she didn't call. She didn't text, didn't knock, didn't even try to explain. I only knew she was back because one of her friends tagged her in a post, a group photo at some bar with the caption, "She's back!" No message, no apology, nothing. Part of me wanted to reach out, not to fix things, but to at least clear the air. After all, 2 years together doesn't just vanish because of one bad trip. But I stopped myself. Every time I thought about calling, I remembered her yelling, "You're heartless! You left me stranded!" So I stayed quiet. A few days later, my phone started blowing up. A mutual friend, let's call her Maya, texted me. "Hey, did you really leave Laura stuck in Greece with no money?" I sighed. "No, she decided to stay there longer. I told her she'd have to buy her own ticket back since she changed the plan." Maya replied, "She said you paid for both tickets, then canceled hers out of spite." That one made me laugh out loud. Cancel her ticket? I didn't even book it. But apparently that's what Laura had been telling people. According to her version of the story, I'd thrown a tantrum and cut her off financially mid-trip because I couldn't handle her wanting independence. She painted herself as the victim of a controlling boyfriend, stranded, helpless, alone. The story spread fast. Within days, half our social circle thought I was some narcissistic jerk who'd left my girlfriend penniless in a foreign country. The other half didn't buy it. They knew how much I'd covered during the trip. The Airbnb, the excursions, the meals, the cabs. If anything, I'd been too generous. But still, being labeled the bad guy hurt. A week later, Laura showed up at my apartment. She didn't text first, just knocked. When I opened the door, she looked fine. Not sad, not angry, just indifferent. "Hey," she said flatly, "I came to get my stuff." I stepped aside and let her in. She moved around quietly, collecting a few boxes she'd left behind. Before she left, I said, "You know, you could have at least told people the truth." She turned, arms crossed. "The truth? You did abandon me, Ethan. You refused to help me when I needed you most. You needed me to pay for a trip you chose to extend. That's not help, Laura. That's entitlement." She scoffed. "You're unbelievable. You act like I was asking for a car. It was one ticket." "Yeah, one ticket that represented every time you expected me to clean up after your choices." That shut her up. For a second, she looked like she wanted to argue, but then she just shrugged. "Whatever helps you sleep at night," she muttered and walked out. That was the last time I saw her.